Hello there, Lunar Squadron, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome to Venom Week. It's like Shark Week, but they're not sharks, and it's actually Venom, so welcome to Venom Week. Now, as you all know, San Diego Comic-Con is set to kick off later this week, and Marvel Spider-Man 2 will have a dedicated Venom panel called Symbiotic Relationships at Comic-Con later this week, and we are so incredibly excited to learn all types of different things about Venom in Marvel Spider-Man 2, but it got me thinking, Andreas, and I want to sit down and have a fun conversation about a question I've had about Marvel Spider-Man 2 gameplay, a particular gameplay feature, and how it pertains to Venom in this game. But before we do that, if you're new to the channel, we would love to have you as always, and the way to do that, just go down below this video, hit that little subscribe button, the bell notification right on next to it. It'll notify you every single time that Andreas and I upload. Now, with all of that out of the way, Andreas, let's talk about some Venom.
All right, Nick, I know you've been really curious about this particular conversation for a while, ever since they confirmed that Venom was going to be in this game. This is something that you've really been thinking about, so I'll let you kind of have the floor and describe exactly what you're getting at here.
Yeah, I figured this would be the perfect time to have this conversation, especially as we're going into what we are calling Venom Week. And before we learn about Venom at this panel, I have a feeling they might address this question or get around to it where we can kind of have an idea about how this feature is going to work in this game. And what I'm talking about is, as you all know, you've all played Marvel Spider-Man and you've all played Spider-Man Miles Morales, that one of the key gameplay features of those games is that Miles or Peter uses the Spider Sense ability as a way to be notified about incoming attacks and dodge attacks. And one question I have had about this game ever since, like you said, Andreas, that Venom was confirmed, was how they were going to handle that Spider Sense gameplay feature when it comes to Venom. Because as many of you know, or if you don't know, once the symbiote binds with Peter, it is able to learn that Spider Sense ability and effectively camouflage itself from Peter's Spider Sense ability. That means that Spider Sense does not work against Venom when it comes to Peter. And what I've been wondering is, how is that going to work in Marvel Spider-Man 2, where they take that gameplay feature away, because the Spider Sense is such a key component of the combat gameplay in this game. And Andreas, I think there are a couple different ways they could go about doing this. I think if they are going to take that Spider Sense away from you, then that would present Miles as an advantageous choice in those combat scenarios if you're able to switch, if you're not locked to just using Peter. Like, we know that some elements of this game you will only be able to use Peter and you'll only be able to use Miles. So if you are able to use both, that would be one of those instances where it would be incredibly advantageous to use Miles. However, what we don't know is, what if the symbiote bonds with Miles and then also takes away Miles' ability to use Spider Sense against Venom? That opens up a lot of different possibilities and directions that this gameplay could go in.
Yeah, it does. And the counterattack feature in Spider-Man, particularly Insomniac Spider-Man, is a massive part of the combat in this game. And you could just imagine how difficult it would be to face off against Venom if they do strip away that entire mechanic and you're left to kind of just figure it out. And I think it does give Venom this shock factor where if he lands a hit on you or starts even advancing towards you, you're going to feel more threatened, almost like he has like this permadeath ability. I'm thinking of different games where you face off against maybe a big boss that has like a one-hit kill, like kind of like the Rancor in Jedi Survivor, where if you get hit, you're in trouble, and so it adds that fear factor there. And I'm wondering if that's just one of the ways that they can maybe add that if you are using Peter. It wouldn't exactly work out the same way with Miles, but I guess that opens up a whole other discussion, which is Miles going to be host to the symbiote? And if he is, then is Venom going to also be camouflaged from Miles' Spider Sense? But for those who are not camouflaged, I'm wondering if, it's going to add to that whole horror vibe that Venom could have in this game, which could be really cool.
And, you know, they've talked about how Venom is going to be a bigger threat, more dangerous, more lethal. And I just wonder what that means in terms of the gameplay and combat. You know, I'm thinking if this spider sense doesn't work in this game, wouldn't it be really crazy if you're using Peter and you're swinging through New York City and then all of a sudden you just get jumped by Venom at some point? Like, there is a lot of horror elements they could bring into this if Venom can just go at you and you're not able to sense him, which that is how that's going to work. After you are bonded with the symbiote, whatever happens the rest of that game, if they stick to the true canon of Spider-Man, that spider sense gameplay mechanic is just not going to work for Peter against Venom. And I am so incredibly intrigued as to how Insomniac is going to handle a core component of their combat gameplay when it comes to what we believe to be now the main bad guy of this game. I think it opens up a lot of cool and a lot of challenging possibilities for the player. And a big reason, Andres, I wanted to make this video, especially going into Venom Week, especially because we knew Venom was going to be so relevant this week, is I want to kind of open up the floor and make a forum in the comments down below just to get some ideas of the people in our community and the Spider-Man 2 community as to how you guys think this is going to happen. Because I think this opens up a ton of different possibilities when it comes to Venom and Spider-Man. And really what I'm wondering the most is how they're going to handle Miles with Venom. Because if they take that spider sense away from Peter, how do they incentivize people to use Peter in those combat situations against Venom? Is it going to be where they lock you into Miles Morales like they said they were going to in certain elements? Or are they going to find a way in the story to have the symbiote at some point bond with Miles too, so that they can also take that spider sense away from him? Or are they going to actually maybe change the canon of Spider-Man a little bit here, since it is an original take on Venom, where that just isn't something Venom is able to do to Peter, or perhaps Peter finds a way to counteract that ability by Venom to camouflage himself, and you can use spider sense. There's just so many different possibilities and so many questions I have, and I'm really hoping we get some more insight at this symbiotic relationships panel later on the week, because like we said, this is such a core component of the gameplay, and it is just something I have really been wondering ever since Venom was confirmed, 2 years now? So I would love to get some of the thoughts down below in the comments as to how do you think the combat gameplay is going to work for especially Peter against Venom in this game. I really hope we find out more later this week.
Yeah, let us know in the comments down below, guys, because this is, of course, this might be the last week that we can really speculate about some of these features for Venom, because we're going to start to get solid details on Venom at this panel at SDCC. So this might be one of our last opportunities to host this forum in our comments. Would love to hear what all of you have to say about how we all think Insomniac is going to handle Venom and Spidey Sense and Miles Morales all in this game. Really curious to see how this plays out, and I'm curious to see what we are going to learn at SDCC. However, that's going to do it for this discussion. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, we will see you all next time.